The country has gone through a lot of changes. We used to be a country that built things, that manufactured, that sold, and we've turned into a country of consumers. We've got a lot of natural resources in the U.S., tons. Metals, materials, Nevada alone, look at the, geothermals and, we've got a lot of possibilities here. I've heard that Nevada has more gold than California ever had.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to switch back from a consumer nation to a manufacturer nation, run against problems of things being in place like the EPA and all their standards. You've got labor unions you have to fight against that, from what I see, may hamper that.
First off, we have to change the way people feel.
Mm-hmm.
We have to get back to the way it used to be. In the 60s, and I believe this stems from a movement in the 60s, that it started changing. We started deindustrializing our nation in the late 70s. And slowly we have progressed down this path that comes from a movement in the 60s. And that is actually generated from a more broader movement that started at the beginning of the century, the progressive movement in the 60s. And I keep getting back to the 60s because it's very important, because those people that were the generation in school at that point in time, in college at that point in time, those are the people that are in control and power right now as a sheer virtue of maturity through age. Those are the people we're talking about. They value the advice of people like Saul Alinsky, who wrote Rules for Radicals. He had a different view on life. He didn't believe in the industrialization of a nation. He believed in being a consumer-based nation, which is a big problem. Now we have to change the way people think. That's one issue, and it's a very difficult issue. But can it be done? Yes, it could be done. As far as our state, I can give you a very good example in the mining industry. You mentioned gold.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we just had a problem down in Chile. Huge earthquake. Chile is the #1 producer and resource of lithium. The #2 resource of lithium in the world is the state of Nevada. As an example, we have 5 separate mines in this state. We should be promoting those mines, that mining industry, or that part of the industry, the mining industry. Because in a society which is using more and more batteries that are lithium based, we should be really taking that resource and using it wisely and making a profit from it. And I'm not saying that the government should do it, private industry should. And with those concerns, the EPA needs to be their footprint needs to be shrunk down. I think a lot of the EPA rules are counterproductive. They have locked them up, and the people that have locked the EPA up has been the progressive movement, who are typically animal rights activists, environmentalists, and I'm not saying all of them are this way, but they made it very hard for industrial businesses to do business, and they make it very cumbersome to operate. And with that in mind, if you can limit that EPA, shrink them down, take some of their authority away from them, maybe, just maybe, we can start to increase our industrial base slowly. It won't happen overnight, we know that, but it didn't deindustrialize overnight either. It took time. So we have to be very, very cognizant of the fact that if it takes 30 years to get rid of it, it could take 30 years to get it back.
Japan, they started coming out with these little transistors and everything. And my grandfather had said, look, here's a country who has no natural resources whatsoever. None. They ship everything in, they make it, they ship everything out.
I can give you a really a stark example of that. Japan comes to Coos Bay, Oregon. They take wood chip out of Coos Bay, Oregon on ships, take it out. I think it's the 12-mile limit. They have a barge manufacturing facility in international waters. They offload the wood chip onto that facility, which makes OSB pressboard. They load it back on to that ship and bring it right back into Coos Bay, Oregon, and sell it. Now they get a break because it's international trade. But is that fair to the American company that has to compete with him when he doesn't get a break because he's manufacturing inside the confines of the United States? They just take it merely a mile or so beyond the limit, manufacture it, and bring it right back to the source of which they got the wood chip. That's not right to the American business in any way, shape, or form.
Let's say Nevada manufactures and we kick up the lithium deal. Okay. If it is sold, or if it goes to an outside source like that versus actually manufacturing it in Nevada, putting plants up and doing it right here. You dig it up, you manufacture it, you sell it all in one state. Should it be reversed that any outside company coming in that wants to do it should be the ones paying more rather than the U.S. citizens and U.S. companies doing that? And if so, how does it get corrected?
Okay. First off, I'm a free trader. I believe in free trade. Every state in this union operates under free trade principles, and we cross our state borders on a regular basis, and we don't have a problem with it. And actually, the system works very well. But with that said, I'm also a fair trader. That if we are going to trade with another nation, that we give their businesses a break, they should give us the same break. And that is not the case, especially when you consider NAFTA, GATT. We're not treated fairly. Now, in my tax plan, I do kind of address this in a really interesting way, is that I believe an American company that is not afraid to stand up and say, I'm an American company. He should have a certain tax on goods and services or his profits. Now, a foreign company that comes in and operates, they should have to pay a tax, but it should not be the same tax an American company has to pay. It should be higher because they are not an American company. This is an American sovereign issue for me. This is America. So our countrymen, our businesses should have the best benefit of being and operating within the confines of our nation. If they want to do the same thing over in another country, like China, which they do, fine. Japan does it typically. An American company that sells a product has a tariff higher than a Japanese company selling a product in the United States. Why is that? So we should turn the tables and make it more effective and more friendly for the American company to operate within the confines of his own country. And right now it's not that way.